Oh, hi. Hi. It's nice to see you. Short leash.
25 feet. What's more? It's okay, you already did.
I just pull back. There we go. All right. I'm like a talk show host. Do we get it? Paul, do we have enough out there? All the cards and everything? Really? We didn't grab. We ran out of memory sticks. You didn't grab more.
I didn't know where to grab them from. You wouldn't show me
They're
your
in the
secret
secret
hiding
box
spot.
under the desk. Where's
It's all right.
What? Is it on? Good morning. I'm here to remind everyone to turn off their cell phones. So if we can take care of that, settle in. I'm hoping everybody can find a chair. Thank you very much for being here today. We obviously have a great turnout for this very special project. You'll find a postcard on your chair that has information and links to environmental documents and other information on our VTA.org website. for your reference. And as a token of our appreciation for being here, we have left a flash drive on each chair that has our new VTA logo on it. Now, there isn't anything loaded on the flash drive, but you can use it to load all the information that you're going to be gathering over the next few weeks about the project and the procurement. I also want you to know that today's forum will be filmed and uploaded to our website. You'll be getting information about that, so you'll know where to go to review it, share it with other members of your staff that weren't able to attend. And the attendees list will also be made available for you, because one of the reasons that we do this type of event is to encourage networking and support our small and disadvantaged business community. So please use all these references and materials that we provide to you to help you along the process of developing your proposal. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to welcome our General Manager and CEO, Nuria Fernandez.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Voice of God, also known as Trish Kane, who's our Senior Procurement Manager. Good morning to all of you, and welcome. I was just blown away when I stepped into the convention center, came downstairs, and saw the lodged group outside of this room. And I thought, we're either giving something away, this is the hottest ticket in town, and it happens to be free, but it also is the level of attention and interest that there is in this project, which is, by all accounts, the largest project that will be happen here in Santa Clara County and in Northern California at this time. So I am, again, very grateful for that level of interest that we have put in over 3 decades of, this has been a labor of love, lots of tears, but also laughter as we work through process and partnerships to bring us to this day when we not only are going to see the first 10 miles of a fantastic service, that is the BART service, coming into Santa Clara County in about a year, and then starting out with our efforts on phase 2. So as those of you who are from the Valley, and specifically from this county, have seen how the county has transformed. Everyone wants to be here. This is where not only major tech companies are relocating to, but there's just so much opportunity and such great ideas. It's the basis for creating ideas that are taken to market, and it has put a spotlight on Silicon Valley in particular on a national level and an international level. So when we embarked on phase 1, it's, as you all have been following, it's about $2.3 billion, 10 miles, and it brings the BART service into Santa Clara County, starting in Milpitas, and then it will be terminating temporarily in North San Jose and Berryessa. So those will be the first 2 stations. But this phase 2 is going to be not only a high dollar, but very complex undertaking. And it's going to require the brightest minds and the level of commitment and experience in tunneling that the majority of you in this room have. And then also an opportunity for us to engage a lot of our local businesses in this project, because that's really one of the top initiatives that we have at the Valley Transportation Authority. Is we have a very thriving small business, minority business, and LGBT business-owned enterprises that have been looking to work on opportunities of this level so that we can get not only our local economy, but start building a baseline of knowledge for other transportation projects. We have a number of ballot measures that have passed, and we also have some significant ones coming up. So there's going to be a lot happening here in Santa Clara County, in addition to the #1 project, which is, of course, the BART extension. So I am very proud of the work that our disadvantaged business unit has done. I want to thank not only our procurement department and its leadership, but also our HR department and the diversity and inclusion group for working with most of you in drawing attention and at least sharing with you our directory of small businesses that have been engaged and certified to work on VTA projects. So, as I said earlier, what we're looking for really is your experience. We're looking for some of those best practices, and we're looking to work together from beginning to end, womb to tomb, on delivering not only an outstanding, iconic project, but one that we know is going to attract a lot of international interest as the rest of the country and the world starts looking at how to deliver rail transportation in the least disruptive fashion as possible. So again, thank you so much for being here. It's going to be a terrific program. And at this time, I would like to invite Carolyn Gonad, and that is the woman to know, who is going to be running this enterprise. Carolyn?
Okay, I'm quite a bit shorter than my boss here, so I'll adjust this mic. Good morning. I'm very happy actually to see the attendance this morning at this event. I know there's a lot of interest in this project, and so I'm going to just give a little bit of brief overview about the BART extension, the BART Silicon Valley extension into Santa Clara County, and then I'll have the Deputy General Manager from BART actually talk about our partnership. I work very closely with BART, and as anybody comes on to work on this job, they will also work closely with BART, as this is their project that they will operate and maintain. Here we go. So the Phase 1 extension is currently under construction. And originally the project was 16 miles to be built together, the full extension. And in 2006, we actually determined to phase the project. And in 2008, we actually were able to move it forward through federal funding process and begin that process. We have that under construction. There are 2 stations, Milpitas and Berryessa North San Jose. And the anticipated opening ridership is about 23,000 per weekday, and we should open that by the end of the year, early next year, for Phase 1. And that's primarily built within the railroad right-of-way, the railroad corridor right-of-way that VTA purchased. What's different about the Phase 2 extension is this is the next 6 miles, and that is primarily in the subway and in the tunnel, and many of you who have been following the project do know that. It's a 6-mile extension, 5 miles of it are in a tunnel. There's 4 stations, 3 are subway, and 1 is at grade in the near the terminal at Newhall Yard. And there will also be a large maintenance facility for BART, similar to what is at Concord or Richmond. That size of facility, about 200 plus rail vehicles would be maintained there. And we anticipate that the opening day ridership there would be about 33,000. So as I mentioned earlier, the development began in the early 2000s as a single 16-mile extension project in Santa Clara County. In early 2009, after the board passed actually after the voters in this county passed a sales tax, a 1/8 sales tax for operations and maintenance of the BART extension into the county, there was a real focus on Phase 1 and build that and get that moving as well. We were very fortunate. We have been funded by a number of sales taxes, so the Measure A in 2000 and Measure B that was voted for in 2016, those have been major contributors to our funding for this BART extension, and particularly with the recent Measure B, that will be funding a portion and a large portion of the second phase, as well as the continuation of the Measure A that was voted in 2000. Phase 1, as I mentioned, it's actually in the testing phase right now. Phase 2 testing is wrapping up. We'll be moving into Phase 3 testing and then pre-revenue operations. There's been a renewed planning efforts on Phase 2 in 2014, and when we began with the notice of intent to do a supplemental environmental impact statement and a supplemental environmental impact report, both CEQA and NEPA documents. The CEQA document has been approved by both boards in April this year, just last month, and we expect the record decision in June. I want to talk about the VTA Bart Partnership, and this is just a slide that very much just summarizes it. We are very much there's a lot of activities in terms of keeping a partnership alive and building a mega project like this, an $8 billion effort. The comprehensive agreement actually between VTA and BART was executed in 2001. And primarily VTA, or Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority's responsibilities is that we pay all the costs that are associated with the extension, not just the design and the construction and getting it up and running, but also the operations and maintenance long-term for the extension, as we are not part of the BART district. That we also do the contract and the procurement, and we also construct all the applicable and industry standards, codes and regulations in terms of when we design the project, which is key for this audience to understand. And we also retain ownership of all the infrastructure. So all the infrastructure still remains under BART's property ownership as well. BART, their responsibilities include operating and maintaining the system. They actually provide technical assistance, and I would say it's a little bit more than technical assistance, but as we build through, they really are partners in getting the design out the door and getting the contractors on board. And although VTA accepts the work, BART also has an acceptance role as well in terms of being able to operate and maintain the project. And then they do the service planning for the project, which is key because it actually plays into how we design our stations as well. So the service planning is actually determined by BART. We actually work with them in terms of what we need, but right now it plans on running very similar to the way the line runs to Fremont, which is 2-line extension service, 1 line going up to San Francisco and the other to Richmond during the peak periods. So, as I mentioned earlier, in April was a big month for this project. We actually have adopted the recommended project description, both VTA and BART boards, and approved the Phase 2 extension CEQA document. And in terms of VTA, we also certified that CEQA document and the findings. What was in that is that we have a transit-oriented joint development scenario under the CEQA, which means that we are able to integrate and build transit-oriented development as part of the project, so it's integrated into that at the station areas primarily is where we cleared that type of joint development, as well as around some other areas that we're interested in, such as the ventilation structures and those. We also have, as you know, first time a single bore in this country for a rail transit project. So that will be a feature of this project, as well as a Diridon station. There was a north option and a south option. We chose a north option. It's just more parallel to Santa Clara Street. And in the downtown, we located the option as the west option, which is the one closest to actually this area around 1st Street, pretty much Market to 3rd Street is where that station would be located. And that just gives you a brief idea of where the station options were. The west option was to the west on Santa Clara Street, as I mentioned, between Market and 3rd Street. And for Diridon, do we have that next slide? The Diridon station options are primarily, it's located to the north, allows more property to be developed in the full site that Caltrain and VTA currently own, so we're able to integrate more without the construction of a station box or a station location within the middle of the property. So the upcoming milestones for this project is that we expect, as I mentioned, the record of decision in June. That is actually at FTA right now, the draft record decision for them to publish. We also are applying for a full funding grant agreement, expected to apply in October 2019, November 2019, which means we expect this team to get up and running very quickly. We hope to award this contract in October this year, and that gives about a year to get a solid cost estimate to apply for the full funding grant agreement. We currently are in what they call an expedited project delivery pilot program with the Federal Transit Administration. This is something new that they're doing. It's located within the current legislation. We are the first project that is moving towards that. It actually will have elements of a P3, as well as our public-private partnership. Primarily the transit-oriented joint development is really a key function of that. And then we will also be looking at innovations in terms of the contracting methods and moving that forward into construction, as well as how do we partner with the contractor. So those are elements that are key to us in moving this project forward in the expedited project delivery program. Why that's important to us is we get the full funding grant agreement about a year ahead of schedule, which gives us more certainty in the dollars, which actually supports the private-public partnership that we're going for, as well as our ability to move the contractor right into full construction versus having to stagger it with a limited notice to proceed, which is what we did on the Phase 1 design build. So now I'd like to turn it over to my partner in crime, which is Bob Powers, the Deputy General Manager at BART.
Okay, well, good morning to everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. So did anybody come down from Oakland today? Anybody drive down from Oakland today? I was one of those caught in traffic. So you can see the need for this extension. I'm sitting there on 880 heading south. It was about a 90-minute, 100-minute drive down from Oakland today. And first thing I was like, this can't happen soon enough. And so, the general manager from VTA, her words about your creative minds and hitting the ground running on this project. You have a big fan in me on that, just the commute coming down here. But anyway, I wanted to say just a little bit. You can see the BART system map up here. I'm not going to talk a whole bunch about that. But what I do want to talk a little bit about is the BART and VTA relationship and partnership. And you can take it or leave it, as you think through your teaming arrangements and how you're going to, approach putting together your package for this project here. But, Carolyn went through the comp agreement, roles and responsibilities, but it's much, much more than that. That had, here's VTA's responsibilities, here's BART's responsibilities, but most of it is in the middle through there, and this is really a partnership. And we're in the middle of landing Phase 1, bringing Phase 1 into revenue service just as quickly as we can. That's our goal. We're in the middle of developing an operations and maintenance agreement on how the system is going to be operated and maintained, and we're very close on that. And so that leaves, Phase 2 coming on board here. And Carolyn and I were talking yesterday up at BART's offices, and it's I'm morphing our team into, it's not BART and VTA. It's some combination of the 7 letters to move forward, because that's how I think about it. That's how I hope everybody in this room thinks about it going forward, because if not for that partnership there, it's going to be a long road, and it's not gonna, the speed won't be there, the efficiency won't be there, the cost effectiveness won't be there. And so that's where we're coming from, Carolyn and I, on the partnership. And I have a term that I'm using up at BART, and it's about, the term is co-create. And so that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But for me, what it means is when we're pulling together, prelim engineering, or we're pulling together specifications, or we're putting together roles and responsibilities as we move forward on this thing. If those documents are co-created by, the BART VTA team, as well as whoever is the selected partner for this Phase 2, that putting the time in on the front end is going to pay off on the back end. Establishing a good relationship up front is going to pay off on the back end. And so that's kind of where Carolyn and I are taking both of our, the VTA team and the BART team, trying to bring them together and rearrange those 7 letters. And so they're not, VTA and BART, it's some combination of the two. And that's really where we are right now. And it's evidence, if you need evidence, go back and look at the 2 board meetings. The one board meeting where we got the environmental document approved at VTA under the general manager Fernandez guidance, and 2 weeks later, up in BART under my boss's guidance, Grace Kreniken is the general manager up there. It was a very unanimous decision on both sides on moving forward with the single bore solution set for this tunnel. And I think that partnership is going to carry through to, Phase 2. And so I want, if you leave anything, with what I'm saying up here, as you put your team together, I would think, that you address that this is a partnership and it's not Bart and VTA going in it alone. And so it's the last thing I'll say, it's quite exciting times to be part of the Bay Area. I know we have our challenges, whether it's housing or homeless crisis that we're working on right now, but on the other side of that coin, it's very, very exciting. I think it was Nuria who said at the board meeting, the vision of ringing the Bay. We're almost there. We get going on this project right here, and we get some construction documents out. We're there in ringing the Bay. We have eBART opening shortly. We have VTA Phase 1 opening shortly. So it's very, very exciting times, and I'm happy to be part of that, and I'm happy to have you as part of the family moving this thing forward. So anything else? Am I turning it over to? Okay. So with that, I will turn. You want me to turn it over to Dennis Ratcliffe, who is the program manager for VTA as we deliver Phase 2.
Just wanted to echo the comments from Bob Powers about co-create. As it is, VTA's strategic plan is called under create, collaborate, and lead. And I think this program will illustrate, how important this is. I also wanted to thank everyone for being here. I've seen out in the lobby a whole lot of familiar faces that I've worked with over the last probably 20 plus years in various roles. And I know many of you know how long it's taken to get this project underway. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the project details and how we're organized to deliver it. And I'll be turning it over to Sharif Abu Saad later to talk to you about the details of the scope of services. So as Carolyn said, this is Phase 2 of a 2-phase program. We started out with 116 miles, but the Phase 2 is 6 miles of extension of BART from the terminus of the project that's currently under construction. It includes 5 miles of tunnel. That's the single bore tunnel that all of you have heard so much about. We have 4 stations, 3 subway stations, and 1 station at grade. And at the terminus of the line, we have a yard and shops facility to be designed and constructed. That's located in the city of San Jose and in the city of Santa Clara. That's located at Newhall. So the major stakeholders here, certainly the community has been an integral part of the way we've gone about putting this project together, and it will continue to be so. We've established a number of working groups to assist in gathering community input. And the Downtown Business Association is crucial here insofar as this is the primary economic zone that is going to receive the project. Of course, BART and the cities of San Jose and Santa Clara. And we have a major planning effort underway at the Diridon station, where we have a number of rail carriers that are going to be coordinating a unified station there. It's another major undertaking for our community. The others, all the utility companies, UP, the list goes on. And I know that many of you are providing services to those stakeholders as well as to VTA. We're currently waiting for the record of decision. That's the last step in our environmental clearance process with our federal government. We're expecting that next month. This opportunity is somewhat conditional on us receiving that. We're expecting that in the next few weeks. After that, we have some near-term activities that we'll be pursuing, which is some utility investigations, preparing for real estate acquisition, again, re-engaging the community about the details, construction impacts, and those kinds of things. The tunnel boring machine is unique. We have to come up with a power plan to make sure that we have the ability to service that construction operation all throughout. The other key aspect of this project that's different from other projects that VTA has done is we have a significant transit-oriented joint development component to this project. This is going to create a number of interfaces that VTA and its professional service providers, including the general engineering consultant, is going to have to help us coordinate with private development. And this is a very exciting piece of the project for us. Next, please. Okay, the way we're organized, as Mr. Powers says, we're in a partnership with BART. The importance of the operator in this process can't be understated. VTA, however, is taking on some distinct responsibilities for contracting, this procurement that you're here to hear about. And we are organized with a program management team that you'll be learning a little bit more about in a moment. And the engineering services will be managed under that organization. This is a little detailed. I don't expect you to be able to read all of that, but if you go from the top down, you can see at the top level we have the program delivery organization. This organization essentially handles all the externalities of the project, that is engaging the community, engaging the stakeholders, and those kinds of things, and providing direction to the project implementation team below. That's the program management team. So we've engaged another service provider to help us with that. That's HNTB WSP, and they will be helping to manage the work that is the subject of this procurement, the engineering services. You see the engineering services on the bottom right-hand side, and the other one on the left-hand side is the construction management organization, which we will engage later. The key aspect of this is we have the program management organization there as essentially VTA's staff. This is the organization that will assure that VTA's objectives are being met by the program, and as such they'll be somewhat receiving the work product from the general engineering consultant and providing direction or comments and input to that work, that ongoing work. Okay, and with that I'm going to introduce Sharif Abu Saad. Sharif's the project director. The program management organization, he'll be managing all of that, and he'll be talking a little bit about the scope of work.
Wow, it's blinding here. Good morning. I am elated to be in your company of such an august and auspicious group of consultants and brethren. The scope of work for the GEC is extensive, so let me go through it. You will be in charge of developing the design in accordance with the approved contracting strategy and plan. You will be in charge of integrating all the design scope, review and evaluate the alternative concepts submitted during the construction procurement of the design-build contractor, specifically for the tunnel and the heavy civil engineering. You will manage the closeout and turnover milestones. You will support the systems integration, testing, and commissioning. Coordinate with the project stakeholders, and the developers that are involved in the TOJD. You will ensure timely completion of as-built construction documentation. You will support the design during construction and operate within the project information control system. And I'll elaborate on that very last point because it's very key to the performance of the program. Let me just say that the GEC is going to be responsible for ensuring that the project is designed to an estimated budget that fits the program requirements. The phase 2 contracting strategies, or the proposed initial contracting strategy, is that we'll first start with some advanced utility relocation, and that will be design, bid, build. There's going to be another set of contracts for the enabling work, and that will be on-call design, bid, build. And that involves the demolition of the existing structures, the hazardous materials assessment, abatement. Number 3 is the biggest kahuna. It's going to be the tunnel and stations heavy civil works, which is going to be design build. So you will produce the technical documents for the contract solicitation. At this point, let me introduce Mark Ramsey, who's a veteran, 20 years tunnel construction with Kiewit, and you will want to ask him a lot of questions about how we're going about the design build outside in the exhibit hall. Phase 2 contracting strategies continues to the track-in systems, and you will work closely with the VTA and BART to develop a design that satisfies the compatibility requirements with the existing infrastructure, which gives maximum control for BART on the outcome product. The Newhall Yard and Santa Clara Station will incorporate a large yard for BART, and at the end of the line is an at-grade station, which is Santa Clara Station, also intended to be design bid build to give maximum control specifically for the yard to BART on the final product. That is followed by a station's fit-out contract, which is going to be design bid build, and it will be responsible for outfitting the 3 underground stations, the finishes to the signage, elevators, escalators, the vertical means of circulation, while interfacing with the systems contract. The parking garages is going to be design build because of maximum efficiency. And then there is the transit-oriented joint development at the stations that you will coordinate with the designers of those developments and the developers who are going to be involved. Just a quick overview for the project. This is the East Portal. It's located at Las Plumas Avenue and North Marburg Way, just east of 101 and north of the lower Silver Creek. As you can see in the photo, the tail tracks are visible from the southern end of Phase 1, and this is the tie-in point to the BART system. This is Alum Brock Station. This is a site concept, and it's just the layout, if you will. It's located southwest of the East Portal on the west side of 101. The site is south of McKee Road, bounded by North 28th Street and East St. James, and 5 Wounds Lane. This site is also a major candidate for transit-oriented developments in the future. This is the downtown site of the station, the site concept that Carolyn just mentioned, and it is the west option that extends from 3rd Street to Market along Santa Clara. Situated on the south edge of the VTA block, and this site will incorporate some pretty interesting TOJD plans and investments. This is just a concept of the entrance of a typical station that we have developed together, and you could see the what's visible for you right now is the high capacity escalators, elevator banks, and the multiple levels for our customers. This is a typical section of the conceptual view, if you will, of the single bore tunnel configuration. This is Diridon Station. It's directly south of the SAP Center along Santa Clara Street. This station has the potential to become the Grand Central Station of the West Coast, given its intermodality with high-speed rail, Caltrain, BART, VTA light rail, and Capital Corridor. This is a very exciting location. And this is the West Portal, which is located north of 880, just east of the existing UP railroad tracks and Caltrain right-of-way. Newhall Yard follows immediately to the north of the West Portal. This yard is behind the Avaya Stadium, and will provide BART with train storage and a new maintenance facility. Santa Clara Station, which is an ad-grade station, and it's integrates with the new whole yard, and it's also included in that particular site. There's going to be parking garage and the tail tracks for the yard. The project information control system. At that point, let me introduce Kareem and Aaron, who are the designers of this system, who put this system together, and you will want to ask them a lot of questions after this outside. So the software tools, as you see listed here, it will be utilized in this project. All of these programs and software suites have been carefully selected to provide the most comprehensive design and collaborative environment and project evaluation capabilities and design integration abilities. For instance, SharePoint Online is to ensure that all the work is done in a collaborative, controlled environment, and you will work in that SharePoint site and use the software tools that we will be affording to you and training you every bit of the way in this environment. This is a screenshot of our in-place SharePoint site that exists today. Microsoft SharePoint Online provides a very robust feature for documentation, records management, and provides the team with a collaborative environment for all their activities. We actually have a saying that if it didn't happen in SharePoint, it never happened. ProjectWise is part of the suite of tools that you will use on the project, and it will help the team with multidisciplinary design and analysis, design collaboration, construction management, and engineering design management. This system will provide a singular platform in which the drawings can be collaborated on and managed. It is the standard for drawing management on our project. Bluebeam is a drawing review and markup tool of choice in the industry right now, and we're adopting it. It integrates natively with the SharePoint site and provides PDFs for editing, markups, collaboration technology, and reliable file creation. BIM, or VDC, also the visual design and construction and building information modeling are interrelated both, and both are comprised of multiple software tools, including CAD drawings, Revit, and other tools to provide a model-based approach to help manage the project. These tools encompass the entire life cycle of project management, including operation, maintenance activities. Autodesk Revit will be used to design and document all the vertical components. Bentley will be used to design and document all the horizontal components, such as track, tunnel, and utilities. Navisworks must be used on our project to allow the project stakeholders to open and combine three-dimensional models, navigate around them in real time, and review the model using a set of tools including comments, redlining, viewpoints, measurements, and it also allows our team to manage the clash detection, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, in four-dimensional time simulation and photorealistic renderings. HCSS is the industry standard for estimating software and shall be utilized for accurate cost estimates and maximum confidence in our project when we talk to the FTA. It will allow two-way Primavera P6 and Microsoft project integration, the FTA account codes setups and complex structures, and the crew assemblies. And while being hosted on the cloud, the system allows many simultaneous users. The GIS serves as a framework to organize, communicate, and understand the relationship between schedule, risk, budget, and location in both 2 dimensions and 3 dimension scenes. And it's built on the ArcGIS online cloud platform. GIS reveals a much deeper insight into the data, such as patterns, relationships, situations, and helping users make smarter decisions. This is the scope of work again. Say it and say it one more time. It's right in front of you here. At this time, I'd like to have the entire technical team stand up because I want you to see their faces when they walk outside. You can ask them questions as much as you want. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Thor Vu. I'm VTA's Chief Procurement Officer. And one of the themes that I've noticed today in this forum is a theme of partnerships. Partnerships with VTA, with BART. And one of the things that I observe in this morning outside is the beginning of the formation of those partnerships in our private sector side. And so this is one of those very important projects that requires public-partner partnerships, and it's the intersection of a variety of expertise, both internal and external. So at this point, I really just wanted to talk a little bit about the procurement-specific aspect of the project, and then we can kind of go from there. I just want to make sure that everyone is aware that this project is heavily funded with federal dollars, and as such, federal regulations, policies, circulars are going to be applicable to the solicitation. The selection process for the CEG contractor is subject to the Brooks Act, which means that it's going to be a performance-based selection process. And for those of you who may not be, I'm sure you are all aware of a performance-based selection process, but it's basically going to be based on just competence and qualifications. Okay. It's important that each company, each vendor, all of you here are registered on VTA.org. That's our official communication platform, where we will relay informations to the industry base and to our private partnerships. So if you're not registered, I highly encourage you to do so. Not being registered puts you at risk of not getting information timely and basically being in the dark on some of the procurement processes or milestones or where we're at. Once the official solicitation is released, there will be a primary focal point, primary point contact person. That individual shall be the only person that you coordinate with regarding any questions related to solicitation. If you reach out to anyone else in my procurement shop, they may not have the background information to give you. So it might not be very useful anyway. So the solicitation will clearly state who you should contact, and that should be the primary person that you reach out with any kind of questions related to solicitation. And again, because the solicitation is the formal document, rely on that for all the information that you may need, regardless of other information that people may tell you or other people in my department may inform you. So rely on what's written in the solicitation document. This next slide gives you sort of a tentative milestone on where we're looking to move forward with. We're looking to publish the RFP fairly quickly, sometime towards the end of May, and then from there, plan to have pre-proposal conferences sometime in the beginning or middle of June, with proposals due by July. And from there on, cost proposals due in August, with interviews towards the latter part of August, and then so that we can make preparations for our next steps. So, next slide. So, our small businesses are the backbone of our economy, and here at VTA, we have a fond. We're fond of our small businesses out there in our community, so our RFP will have assigned DBE goals and also assign aspirational SBE goals as well. And I won't go into the details. You can see on the slides up there. And then one of the last things that I want to mention is that our insurance requirements are related to this solicitation, and we have our team from risk management that has a desk out in the lobby. They can provide you more specific information related to what the requirements are. The slides that's up here kind of pinpoints some of the general information that you'll need to have, or at least be preparing to have. Okay. Again, my presentation is really just to kind of give you a little quick and brief overview on our procurement strategy and milestones. And at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Dennis to do some closing remarks and some questions. So.
Okay, before I get to the questions, that's an awful lot for one morning to absorb, I'm sure. I just want to reiterate, I think you've gotten a sense of how we're organized. The VTA executive staff managing the externalities. We have Sharif and his team that are managing the steerage of the project, that is the project control, where we're going, some technical review of the professional services that are going to be provided by the general engineering consultant. We are going to be co-located in a facility near the airport at Gateway. There'll be space available for the engineering consultant so that we can collaborate as needed. And you'll become an integral part of the team along with VTA and BART. The contract packaging that Sharif went over, I think, is articulated in the RFP. It gives you a basis on which you're going to prepare your proposal and your work plan. Once you become part of the team, we'll be implementing that contracting package, and adjustments will normally occur then, but that is the presumption at this time. And with that, I think I'll open it up to questions. Anyone have any questions? No questions. Okay. Very clear. Yes, please. You can stand at the mic there if you like.
We have mics located on the aisles for anybody who wants to ask questions.
Sunny House with Parsons. Just wanted a point of clarification. It looked like all the design was going to be done by the GEC except for the design build opportunities. Is that correct?
Generally, that's true. Our objective here is to have very clear lines of responsibility, and the general engineering consultant is going to be the central source or the primary source for the engineering that goes into our procurement packages. So if it's a design bid build, it'll be 100% design. If it's design build, it'll be appropriate level design.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Patrick Sauls with SOAR Environmental Consulting. We're a disabled veteran business. I know on this engineering procurement, there's DBE, aspiration goals and commitment. On future potential projects for this one, may there be a potential for disabled veteran business, or is the VTA similar to Caltrans where if there's federal funding, it's DBE goals?
I'm going to ask Thor Vu to have his staff come. All right.
Good morning. My name is Liz Brazil. I'm the manager of Business Diversity Programs. Because this project is federally funded, we have a DBE goal for this project. But part of the this program is participation of small businesses to encourage participation. But of course, we welcome and encourage participation not only of disabled veterans, but also with LGBT businesses. Thank you.
My name is Charles Anderson with Anderson Pine Corporation, and I saw that the looks like the insurance requirement was $75 million each occurrence, and that was right after the small business slide. Wanted to know if that's a trickle down to small business. I certainly don't carry 75 million. I carry one in per occurrence, two in aggregate.
Okay.
But just had a question
All
about
right, I'm
whether
going
it's
to
true.
have, Judith, do you want to answer? Okay. So while she's coming to the mic, I also want to tell you that you'll have time to ask more detailed questions right after we're finished here. And there's some procurement staff and other staff that you'll want to talk to about your proposal in the tables outside.
Sure, thank you.
Please, Judith.
I'm not alarmed that $75 million caught some people off guard. However, understand we're going to be doing single bore tunneling. Therefore, with the design piece, we are going to require $75 million. With that said, truly, the general contractor will be able to have $5 million in their primary and then have an umbrella over that. And then there'll be downstream responsibilities for the general contractor for subcontractors, which will help the SBE and DBE requirements. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Judith.
Isaac Segovia with Morgner Construction Management. There was mention about public-private partnership, but the slide suggests that the main contract for the tunneling would be design-build. So what elements would actually fall into the public-private partnership? Does any of the O&M fall into public-private partnership? If you could elaborate.
Right. Okay. So as you might guess, the underground structures at the station locations need to connect to the tunnel. This is a crucial interface, and the contracting packaging assumes that earth structures are part of the design build package. However, you saw that we also are identifying station fit out, and that would very likely be performed under a different arrangement, either with a private development or through a different contracting package. Would you want to step to the mic, please?
Anil Verma, Architects. The question I had was, you talked about transit-oriented development. How far ahead are the plans for the station sites with transit-oriented development, or are you hoping that it would be developed in the course of general engineering?
It would be developed in the course of the general engineering. We'd have just basic concepts, approaches at this time. No other questions? Okay, well, I just want to thank, you go to the last slide there. I think there's a couple of things I want to say. So I know that you did a fair amount of networking out in the lobby. That's one of the main objectives of this session, is for you to connect with the teaming. This project is an enormous undertaking for our community. It's going to take a very strong team. We're looking for a team that can help us do something that has never been done before. So it's very important for you to network and get connected to people that you think you can work best with. Again, we have VTA staff from the relevant departments manning tables outside to answer your more detailed questions to help you put your proposal together. And I just, again, want to thank all of you for coming. This is extremely important to our community. Many of us have worked on this program half of our careers or longer, and it's really going to happen. And so with that, I'll close up the session, and again, thank you all for coming.